Hello everyone. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Brian Freeman, and I'm the Assistant Technical Director here at the Venice Theater. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about 3D printers, what they are, how they work, and how I've been using them in theater to help tell our stories. So, what is a 3D printer? Well, as the name suggests, it is a printer capable of taking digital files and turning them into real-life three-dimensional objects. Using 3D printers, we are able to make all kinds of models, props, costume pieces, and even tools for use in our productions. We can produce items quickly and at a much cheaper cost than simply buying them. What's even better is that we can also replicate older items that are rare, fragile, or otherwise just hard to find. All 3D printing begins with a digital 3D model. Some models you can download from online stores, but most have to be created from scratch. This pendant, for example, is a model I created for our production of Peter and the Starcatcher. I first started out with some reference photos, and then drew out the design using a modeling program. The entire process from start to finish took me about 6 hours to complete. Once the model is ready, you just send it over to another program that runs the printer. That program then takes the digital model and slices it up into hundreds of thin layers. This is similar to how you would chop a vegetable. The printer then takes each of these slices and prints them out one layer at a time. The time it takes to print an object varies based on certain factors such as size, level of detail, and the style of printer you're using. Based on the settings I've chosen for this particular print, it will take about 4 hours to complete. Now, when it comes to 3D printers themselves, you have two basic options. This first one works by taking a spool of plastic filament, like this, and melting it down to form a print one layer at a time. These style of printers are great for making bigger objects like this mask or this toy blimp. Although, depending on the quality of the printer, you can also print smaller objects like this octopus. You also have the option to choose from dozens of different types of materials, such as plastics, nylons, or even something that glows in the dark. Meanwhile, the second type of printer does things a little differently. Instead of a spool of filament, it relies on a vat filled with liquid resin. The printer then takes this resin and, using UV light, cures each individual layer until you get a finished object. Now, the selection of different resins available is much more limited compared to the first style of printer, and you are typically restricted to making much smaller objects. However, the level of detail you can achieve with this printer is truly amazing. Here is a closer look at some of the things we've made using these printers. First up is the pendant I made using the first printer I showed you. This print isn't as high of a quality as the one we made for Peter and the Starcatcher. It only took about 4 hours to print, while the one we used on stage actually took about 9 hours. Meanwhile, these little guys were made using the resin printer, and as you can see, they are tiny, but still really high quality. And here is some furniture printed at 1/4" scale that I will be using to make a model for one of our Pinkerton Theater productions. This blimp that I showed you earlier was something I made for our production of Stuart Little. This one was actually too big to print as one piece, so we had to print it in sections and then glued the whole thing back together. However, by far, the biggest thing we've printed to date has to be the glowing heart for the Ghost of Christmas Future. The entire thing ended up being almost a foot in diameter and took a whopping 80 hours to print in its entirety. There really is no limit to what we can create using 3D printers, and we're always finding new ways to put them to use. Using these, combined with other new technologies, gives us the tools we need to start telling our stories in new and exciting ways. Well, that's it for today. I hope you had fun and learned a little bit about 3D printers. Please be safe out there and continue to support your local arts community whenever you can. Have a good day, and we'll see you next time.